This here is my journal. It's almost full. I've had it for, I don't know, since about May of 2025. I've been journaling every single day for about 5 years. I've been journaling on and off for about 10 years. But for 5 years, I've tried journaling every single day. And the reason it took 5 years to get there and 10 years of trying was because it's hard. You may have tried journaling at some point or another, and the truth is, it is hard to try and sit down and write something every single day. And on top of being hard, there's a good case to be made that it's not really useful. Are you wasting your time journaling? Are you ever going to go back and read it? Nobody, let's be honest, is probably going to want to read it unless you somehow end up famous. And the odds are that might not be your case. Life moves really fast. And when life is moving fast and you're busy, there's not a lot of time to actually sit down and journal. And if there's not time to do it, it's probably not going to happen. And there's obviously not a really compelling reason to do it if so many people get by in life just fine without journaling. And do you ever actually go back and look at everything you've journaled? Is it just a big pile of books? I've probably got, I don't know, 10 to 15 of these sitting in some attic somewhere. And every once in a while I've gone back and looked through them. I'll talk about that in a bit. But let's be honest, just sitting down and writing every single day doesn't seem like the best use of time. And finally, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's worth journaling because you don't have anything to journal about. All you did was wake up and miss the gym again and go to work and just have a perfectly average normal day, and there's nothing worth journaling about. It's hard to journal about something when life is just really mundane. And so there's some really good reasons why not to journal. The reason I actually started and the reason I wanted to try and make this video and try it for 5 years straight is because I genuinely was curious. Is it worth it to journal? And so I'm going to walk you through what it looked like journaling every single day for 5 years straight. 10 years ago, my older sister got me a journal with the eagle on it and had some note written in the front of it saying, 13 is a great year to start journaling, something like that. And so I started kind of on or off. I just finished reading a book by a filmmaker, and he had kind of chronicled his journey of filmmaking, and it was definitely fascinating reading through it. And I remember kind of adapting his writing style and writing only about the movie I was working on right then. It was definitely interesting. I mean, I can look back and read it and I'll cringe a little bit, but I probably journaled, I don't know, once a week, maybe once a month at the start. And there'd be a spurt where I'd actually try and journal every single day and kind of write about what was happening with the film. But I was very much imitating, trying to be like somebody else. And so that was my first attempt at journaling. And then somewhere in middle school or high school, started journaling a little bit more seriously. I think I remember getting my first job at Baskin-Robbins and actually having a chance to sit down and write about it. And I just wanted to write down everything I was feeling, the things I liked and the things I didn't like about it. And that was one of the first times I remember actively journaling, and that's the first memory I have of where I was at journaling. And then from there, went through several more books and random notebooks I got from church or from school or somewhere else, and slowly somewhere in there I began journaling a little more consistently, and as my quiet time strengthened, journaling just became part of that. At some point, can't remember the exact shift, I just know about 5 years ago I started journaling every single day. And I'm curious if it's worth it. So this is what I learned. The first thing is to have a time to journal. For me, journaling is not the most important thing in the world. It's just not. Journaling, it's important, I think it's useful, and I'm going to go through a couple of reasons why I think it is, but it is not the most useful thing in the world. And so for me, journaling is in addition to something else. As James Clear would call it, it's an atomic habit. It's something you add, you habit stack. And so something I already did, my quiet time, my time in God's Word, my time in prayer, I just ended that time by journaling. And for me, journaling was a way to just write down what happened the previous day. And it started out, like I said, kind of film related, and then it shifted to more technical, like exactly what happened. Maybe I had a workout, or this happened or that happened, or I ate this meal, and I'll still write some of those things now, but it became more technical. And then at one point it kind of shifted more spiritual and what I was learning and things that were happening. And then somewhere in college it just became a big combination of everything. But pretty much now when I journal every morning after my quiet time. It's part of my quiet time, and I'll just sit down and I'll write what happened the previous day. kind of my thoughts on what's happening, and sometimes it's 4 sentences and sometimes it's 2 to 3 pages. Recently there's been a lot going on in life, so I've just tried to process it because it's a great way to process. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But for me, you've got to have a time. That may not be the case for you, but if you actually want to get to journaling, you've got to have a time. For me, right after quiet time just made perfect sense. Once you've found a time, you've kind of got to have something to write about. And typically you're not going to have anything phenomenal to write about. Maybe twice a year you're going to have something that warrants a big thing of interest. Most of the time it's just little updates of I wrote some more on this project, or I got a little bit more done, or I listened to this song, or I met this person, or had lunch with this group of people. And most of the time it's not that interesting, but for me it helps process the day. So for me, I'm not trying to write anything big. I'm just going to sit down and I try and just write out what happened the previous day. So it might look like I had a good workout and I got a lot done at work. Went on a walk with these people at lunch. Afternoon was hard to be motivated, but had a call with my sister. We talked about this, and then in the evening I worked on this project, or went to this small group, or met with this group of people. And for me, I'm just writing it out. And if something interesting happens, I'll write it down. It's always neat being able to look back and see, oh, that's when that happened, or oh, I didn't know I had that idea that early on. As a creative person, I'll try and write down some creative ideas. But really, whatever you find interesting, just write it down. Sometimes the things I write down don't really make much sense, and I look back later and kind of wonder why I was writing it. So a good test is once you've done it for a month or so, just look back and read it, and if you find it interesting, keep writing that. And if you don't find it interesting, then write about some other stuff. Some things I've written about in the past are dreams. I always find it very fascinating going back and trying to remember a dream. 99% of the time, I don't remember the dream whatsoever, but that's always kind of fun. About once a week or once every other week, I'll have a dream that's vivid enough and I remember it, so I'll write it down. Some other things I enjoy writing down are what I'm praying about. For me, I've just started a whole new journal that's a prayer journal, and that's now part of my prayer time. But if you're just getting into journaling, just write down what you're praying for. And it's neat being able to look back and see, oh, that was an answered prayer, or that was answered in a different way, or even 3 to 4 years later looking back and seeing, wow, God answered that and I'd forgotten I'd prayed it. That's definitely a cool thing once you've done it for several years. And then some other things you can write about is your work, the people you're around, your creative ideas. The possibilities are endless. That's what I write about because I enjoy doing those sorts of things. But for you, it may be a little bit different. Maybe a job search, or what you're learning in this aspect, or what you hate about this thing, or the number of things that you are waiting to stack up so you can know to quit this job. When I'm on a trip, I write down things I'm grateful for because I don't have my gratitude wall. And so I'll just write down at the top of the page what I'm grateful for. And when I get back home, I'll write those on a sticky note. So maybe you write down stuff you're grateful for. But once you have a time, and once you know what you're going to write about, then the point is, and the question of this video is it worth it? I've tried it for 5 years, almost every single day. I can't say every single day. Throughout the past few summers, I have worked a camp job, and I'll write down an entry here and there, but I just do not have time to journal. And so for about a month or 2 months throughout the summer, I've not been very consistent. But outside of that, I've journaled pretty much every single day. And there's 4 to 5 or 6 of these that are stacked up to prove it. And I actually got my last journal. Someone on my last camp team gave me this, and I'm excited to start it as soon as I finish this one. This one's got probably about 10 to 15 pages left. So I'll be finished with that in a week, and I'll switch over to this one. And this one will go on a bookshelf somewhere, and I'll switch out. But journaling for me has been helpful because, number one, it helps me slow down. Slowing down is not something I've done until about the past year and a half. And it's been amazing seeing how the past 5 years of journaling has kind of set me up to slow down. It's just been part of a theme in my life that God's been working on. And as I sit down and I write and I process the day, it helps me slow down because you're not just waiting to jump along to the next thing. By taking just 2 to 3 minutes to just sit down and write what is happening throughout the day and the previous day, it makes you actually remember what actually happened. And by focusing on what you're grateful for, or focusing on something cool that happened or something you learned, then just very simply, you're actually processing your day. And we live in a day and age where you fill up every bit of free time with something, whether it's entertainment or scrolling through YouTube or through Instagram or who knows what. I talk about a lot. And in general, by journaling, you're just actually thinking about your life and not somebody else's life. Another thing is it helps you feel the feels. It helps you just process what's happening. If something's really great or really negative in your life, it just helps you sit down and think through it. And sometimes talking with another person is going to come eventually, and you need to process it with somebody else. But sometimes you just write down the misery or the pain or the confusion that you're going through, and it helps you think through it. And so that's been helpful. It also helps you think through some good stuff, the incredible things of life. It helps you when you just sit down and write and try and describe it using words. It just helps. And I can't really explain it, but it helps you slow down and it helps you enjoy your life that you actually have. It may not change your life. It may not turn it into something better, but it helps you process the life you actually have and help you enjoy it more. And so I think it's worth it. I will say, and the reason the title on the video and the little thumbnail picture is unless, or whatever word I end up putting on there, but the reason there's a question mark there is because I don't think journaling is worth it by itself. If you're just going to journal, I really can't say it's worth it. I think journaling is only useful in addition to some other things. So if journaling is what helps you get to a point in your day where you just sit down and have some quiet time, then I think it's worth it. But if all you do is sit down and journal, I mean, it might be interesting, it might help you process, but it's not going to have any huge benefit. I think journaling is only useful when you're documenting or when you're doing it in addition to something else. And that something else, I think, is quiet time. It's time with God in prayer and in scripture. And if you're not journaling in addition to that, I don't think it's worth it. That's my take. I'd love to hear if you have a different take. And the last side note is just very simply, it helps you live outside of time. We as humans are constrained within time. We cannot think other than before and right now and after. And journaling helps you do that. It helps you look back in time, going back and reading a journal entry from a month ago or from a year ago or from 10 years ago. It helps you live a little bit outside of time, and you're able to see your growth. You're able to see some things that have changed. You're able to see some themes, and it helps you a little bit see things from a more aerial, God-sized perspective. And so for that, I think journaling's worth it.